How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Another entry of sharing your stories. A little bit of house cleaning at the front here. Sorry if there's any weird noise. I am using the air conditioner and it is sitting beside me and it is quite loud because it's hot. It's very hot. And when you live in a tiny tin can, heat is your enemy. So instead of dying, air conditioner. But I did do a couple audio tests before I started. We should be okay, and hopefully I can clean it up a little bit in post as well. And number two, I do apologize for it taking so long to get around another entry of these sharing of your stories. The community is incredible. I thank each and every one of you who has written in, and just know that if you haven't heard your story written yet, it doesn't mean I didn't get it. It just means I haven't gotten to it yet. Obviously, I've been very busy putting a lot of work into the content here on the channel, and that is definitely where my priorities have been. But now it is time to get back and share some stories from you lovely people. If you're new around here and you just stumbled upon this video, the whole thing here is literally sharing your stories. Stories that have been sent in by members of the community here on Vanlife Plus, whether you're just a subscriber on YouTube or if you're a member over on Patreon, and their stories either about their nomadic life, their aspirations to be part of the nomadic community, or even if they just want to share stories about automobiles in Germany. We've had two of those. Same person, though. So anyway, without further ado, our first story comes from Vicky. Vicky writes in and she says, "Hello, Matt, Stella, Penny, and Lucky. Here is my story. I grew up as a little adventurist in a small harbor in Halifax. My grandfather ran the Chibukto lighthouse that my mom grew up in. We had so much to explore: climbing trees, swimming, exploring old forts from the war, skating, adventuring through the woods, building fires on the beach, and enjoying trips on my granddad's fishing boat. The list goes on and on. At 21, my youngest brother passed from a cardiac arrest on board a Sombro fishing boat brought on by a childhood diagnosis of asthma. He required 2 breathing masks twice a day. They didn't want to let him go at first, but that was his passion. So he brought his breathing equipment and away he went. One day before he was to return, being Mom and Dad's 25th anniversary, he passed away on board, looking out over the water. I will not go into all the horrible emotions as I now look at this, as he lived his life the way he wanted, living his dream at 17. Not many of us can say that. My dad passed in 2001 from lymphoma. He was 64. Then my mom remarried for 5 years, only to have to say goodbye to this lovely man to cancer yet again. My mom worked for the Special Investigations Unit of the military until her retirement. She was diagnosed 5 years ago with vascular dementia. My sister lives in North Carolina, my older brother in Kingston, Ontario. My husband, Patrick, is from Ontario and brought to Nova Scotia through the Navy, where he still works at the engineering school on base. Me, I work at our hospital here in Halifax, and I have for 37 years, now as a retired casual. I fell upon your channel last summer. The more I watch, the more you remind me of my younger brother. Oh. Eyes wide open and exploring what you love. I instantly was hooked. I will need to be here with my mom until the day comes that we have to send her to be with Christopher, Dad, and Stepdad. After that, I somehow have the urge to buy a cheap 4 walls on 4 wheels and start my adventure, whether it be for small or larger trips. Not sure, but it doesn't matter. Until then, I enjoy living vicariously through your adventures. It is really our adventures, as you do such a great job of including each of us along the way. Thank you for allowing me to have that someday. You are truly an inspiration to all. The fun and laughter is simply the icing on the cake. Thank you for all that you are and all those that you inspire. Victoria." She followed up and said, I was supposed to say, "Thank you for allowing me to look forward to that someday." Vicky, thank you so much for writing in. Again, I'm sorry it took me so long to get to this story. Obviously, you spoke to me a bit about your brother. And yeah, that is very true. How many of us can say that we were living our dream at 17? He sounds like he was a very strong soul. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he was facing, and he wasn't just going to lay down and die. He was going to live his life to the most until he wasn't able to anymore. And you have my condolences for the passing of him and your dad. I'm glad you can find some enjoyment in what I'm doing. I do find it funny people keep saying all of these adventures that I'm taking us on. I'm really not taking us on all that much. I find it adventurous, and I guess that might make sense as to why other people do as well. But it's not like I'm out there exploring new places every single video and whatnot. It really just is the adventure that is my life. Um, and I think that's important because it's so easy to let stuff weigh us down and make us feel like, oh, there's nothing adventurous in our life. There's nothing we can do to have a good time. But I always find it funny when somebody says, thank you for taking me on the adventures, because I don't know that I've really done that yet. But hey, as someone once said and got under the skin of somebody else, it is what it is. Thank you again for writing in, Vicky. Give me 1 second here. That was on a separate platform. I got to pull up my inbox. There we go. All right. Our next story comes from Jane Wayne, or Jayla. Let's make this bigger. A little bit easier for me to write. Whoa. Sorry, sometimes people's emails come through and the font's very small. That's a little bit better. Okay. Jane writes in and she says, Dear Matthew, first, let me start off by saying I am so sorry to hear about your troubles. She's probably talking about my back, if you don't know. As I said in one of my comments on your videos, hang in there because us Irish don't know how to give up. I will try to make this as brief as possible. I was a responder on the New Jersey side to the World Trade Towers in 2001. I am now, as you can guess, extremely sick to say the least, having lost the love of my life since I was 7. Talk about love at first sight. Having this person in my life for over 45 years, almost every single day, has been unbearable, and to lose that forever with the opening of a door has been even more unbearable. I lost every one of my immediate family in the last 3 years due to cancer. I am the last living member of my family. I lost some children along the way, too many to count, while still trying to find a reason to go on. I'm not going to lie, there were some dark days along the way, especially in this last year, being alone with a terminal disease, not knowing how long I have, because a timeline at this point is an impossibility due to too many medical conditions happening all at once to give an accurate diagnosis of time. Living day to day on the edge has been quite the experience. Until I was 7 years old, I was unable to walk as I'm a poliosis, which means I contracted polio through a live vaccine by accident as a child. I crawled on the ground with my legs tied together until I was 6 years old. From 6 to 7, it took me to be able to walk and stand on my own. My father in the Marine every day took me with him on his daily 20-mile runs, climbing those mountains, running those ridges. He never gave up on me, not one day, ever. If it weren't for the Marines, I wouldn't be walking right now. Hooray! Besides my Irish family and then relentless badgering, and you know what kind of bad dream that was. The relentless nicknames, you know what I mean, well-meaning, mean-spirited love, got me going when things were tough. I guess I followed in the footsteps of my entire family being a first responder. Everyone in my family works in that profession without getting into details. I found myself a week ago unceremoniously having to leave my house because of damage from the hurricanes I didn't even know existed. After 6 months, a lot came to light, and I had to leave it one day. Having to decide what I could and couldn't take, and what could not fit in my minivan strapping suitcases to the roof, shoving everything into the car that you couldn't on the floor, the ceiling, wall to wall, just taking anything I could in a fit. Of course, I've been cleaning it out a little bit at a time over the last week, throwing stuff here and there. It was like that kind of joke. People ask you a question: if there was a fire, what would you take? What would be the number one or top 3 things you would be able to walk away with? That's how I heard that through my head the whole day. At least I had 24 hours instead of 5 minutes. I've been living in the back of the van on and off my entire life. My father was a race car driver. Motocross, besides being in the Marines, that's what they do on their off hours, by the way. So I have pictures of myself in the 68 Volkswagen. I'll try to send you. You'll get a good laugh out of that. But I've been doing van life since the day I was born, not understanding what kind of to the point of why this happened at this time in my life. Cancer from head to toe, all over different stages, and no hope, no help. I've become inoperable, untreatable, and incurable with a newly diagnosed heart condition and extremely high blood pressure that cannot be controlled. I looked at my house and I looked at the car, and I thought better to die with a fishing pole in my hand by the river than in a remote control in my hand laying on the couch. I'd rather die of a heart attack staring at the ocean, in the palm trees, missing my mountains, as I am a Nova Scotia Newfoundlander, as well as being from the Foley clan back in the homeland of Ireland. We are fishermen at heart, on all walks and sides of my family, most of them Navy or Marines. I was thinking and feeling like I was being punished, but I think I'm realizing what a blessing it will actually be, as long as I can get over losing everything. I try not to complain, and I feel bad, even mentioning it in this letter, what with everyone on Fort Myers went through losing everything in seconds. At least I had 24 hours, and I thank God every day for that. So I try not to sound like a whiner. I want to give thanks to you, Matthew, for giving me the courage to do this, because I knew the end was coming, and I've been watching your videos since your very first one, walking through the footsteps right behind you. I knew what was coming, and I was trying to get prepared as possible. So thank you for your videos. They gave me hope, knowing I really could do it, and I did it. The van's been up and running for a year. I've been pre-testing van life, and then I'll be thrust into it one day. I think I'm doing okay. I had a few nervous breakdowns, and I didn't know I knew that many curse words ever in my life. Now, if I get my Irish temper down, I'll be perfectly fine. I also want to thank you because you helped me name my channel. You helped me name my channel. In one of your videos, you were sitting in your van and you were talking about it being like a fort or a tent that you made as a kid, and you brought all your stuff into, and you made a fort out of your tent. That's exactly how I felt when I was making the van into a tiny home on wheels. So I thought, if Matthew can make a man cave for it or a man fort, then I can go make it a chick fort on wheels. Thank you for your inspirational videos. The good, the bad, and the ugly side of life is what I've been trying to show. And a shout out to Amber. She gave me the courage to put out my first video. Love to you all and your kitties. Forever grateful, Jane Wayne. Chick Fort on Wheels. Thank you very much for writing in, Jane. Again, I'm sorry it took me so long to get to your story. I specifically say sorry again here just because you were talking about last week and yesterday and whatnot. My bad. But wow, what a time you had your entire life. Talk about a quitter, somebody who wouldn't just lay down and give up. Good for you. I think a lot of that stuff, I don't think it has as much to do with me. Maybe you saw some weird Canadian boy doing something in a van and you were like, yeah, if he can do it, I can too. I think you always had that determination right from a very young age. And obviously your father helped instill a lot of your confidence in you as well. And having been in and out of, nomadic living or vehicle living since you were young, that has definitely played a huge part in you being able to just stay laser focused on what you want. And I'm very happy to hear that you are doing that and are enjoying it, because really, what else is there? Thank you again for writing in, Jane. All right, and the next story comes from Marsha. Marsha writes in, she says, "Greetings, Matt. My name is Marsha Fishkin, and I have been following your channel for about a year, and I find you funny as well as interesting. There are two things I want to talk about. The first one is about your back, and the second is about my life." Oh, good. "I have had surgery on my back twice in the same place that you are experiencing. My belief is that you will have surgery until you cannot stand the pain. I waited until I needed help when it was so difficult to deal with the pain and walk. You will know when that is, and getting a second opinion is a great option. As for my life, well, I am in my 70s now and camped when it was not so fashionable. My parents bought a tent in the late 1950s, and we traveled New England as well as Ontario and Quebec. I was a kid and I loved traveling. Moving on, I had a career as a teacher for 38 years in Connecticut, got married and began my life with my husband, as well as had a daughter. We tented, backpacked in the mountains of Vermont, New Hampshire, and New York State. We even bought a boat and spent many weekends camping on Lake George. Nomad living, even temporary, was in our blood. My husband had a work van that we used to use for travel. We did have a tent with us, but we slept in the van. All we had with us besides clothes was an air mattress, sleeping bag, cooler, and a Coleman stove. The van was a step up from tenting, and we were happy to be out of the rain. We even camped in the van near Washington, D.C., saw the sights, and then back to a campground. As things have it, we had a daughter, and life got very busy. My husband's parents had a cottage nearby to our house and close to the Long Island Sound. So camping ended, and we used the cottage for many years and enjoyed ourselves. Then, life took another change. We moved to Florida to help my dad, who is now 99 and is in terrific shape. Having a cottage far away is not easy, and we want to travel. We've decided to sell the cottage and purchase something to travel in. Not quite sure if it will be a travel trailer or a van, but something that has a real bed. We plan on traveling west from Florida and visit Canada. Maybe we can meet you sometime, but in warmer weather. We've seen you visit Banff and have visited as well. We enjoyed seeing that town as well as the beautiful and pristine area around it. Your YouTube channel shares the beauty of that area. We hope this letter finds you in good health. Take care. Warmest regards, Marsha and Aaron. Thank you very much for writing in, Marsha. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you for the feedback on my situation with my back. There's no news for me to announce here at this time regarding that. I am still waiting to have a consult with an actual surgeon. And yes, I have also been given, obviously, I think the best bit of advice I was given was somebody said, listen to the professionals, listen to the people that you're dealing with. Your situation is never going to be identical to anybody else's experience. And you kind of summarized that exactly in what you said. You just said, just don't wait too long. Don't put anything off. I definitely don't want to do that, because my biggest fear when I started having my back pain and realized that it was going to be a larger issue than what I thought was, I don't want to be disabled. I don't want to be able to not pick up my kid. I don't want to be able to not play with my kid. I'm already at that point where I have to kind of count how many times I pick her up on the days that I have her, and pick her up in a very specific way. And it's not always conducive to the fun of the day or whatever you might be doing. And that's hard enough for me to deal with. So yes, I definitely don't want to leave it till too late. And as for your story, I loved it. I love that idea of just camping. Just go and do it. It's back when it was so simple, and everything that you listed there. I've done that, as I'm sure many people have. You get a cooler, you get a stove, you get a tent, you get a mattress, you throw it in the car, and you go. And those can be very fun camping trips. And I loved your like the way you said it was nice to be out of the tent. I actually, spoilers, just purchased a tent for myself and my daughter to go camping in, just to try it out, because I'd like her to have that tenting experience with Dad as well, not just the tiny home on wheels. But the fact that you say it was nice to be out of the rain in the van, that's the kind of stuff that makes me think I need to redesign my tiny home and make it so the bed in the back is bigger. But then you start compromising on your storage space and whatnot. It's just, you have to take a minute and pause and be like, oh yeah, that's why I love van life, is it's always a learning experience, and you can always keep changing things and making it work for you. And your dad is 99 and in great shape. Congratulations to him. Go give him a big high five. When you say he's in great shape, just get in there. Maybe gentle. You know him better than me. That's very honorable of you guys to move down there and take care of him. That's amazing. And yeah, the idea that who cares if it's a van or not, get a travel trailer if that's what you guys want, and absolutely have a real bed. I think the more you travel, the more you live in your vehicle full time, the faster you realize a real bed is very important. It's one thing to go out on weekends with an air mattress and do like overlanding or being a weekend warrior, but when you start doing it consistently, absolutely, a real bed will be a detriment's not the right word. That's bad. It will be a necessity. That's why I got that new mattress for Lucky just a while back, because I was like, enough is enough. Thank you for writing in, Marsha. I appreciate that. All right, we'll do one more here. This story comes from Miss Independent. She writes in, she says, my name is KJ, and I am currently in Las Vegas, Nevada. In 2020, the man I was living with, under the promise of getting a better job when he moved in, signed up for a job training program that he then refused to go to. I paid $6,000 for it. Meanwhile, I was working 3 jobs to his 1 job. I then made him my IHSS caregiver to assist at home, which basically meant doing chores. He refused, so once the paychecks for that came and he used them without telling me to the tune of $4,000, I put him out. I purchased a home for myself and my mother in Mexico. Then the pandemic hit. We were locked down in my condo and waiting for Mexico. My mother then decided she no longer needed to take her mental health meds and schizophrenia, hitchhiked back to Portland after telling me that me paying for everything and providing for her was not good enough. I took off to Mexico by myself with just, oh, you got locked down. You weren't in Mexico yet. Sorry, my apologies. I took off to Mexico by myself with just my trusty mini Schnauzer. Border Patrol denied me access because I had a cargo trailer on the back of my truck. I went to hearings for 3 months and eventually got a special permit for my trailer as the Border Patrol was attempting to tell me to pay them $5,000 cash or they would not let me cross. Looking at the map, I had several other stops. I was very fearful of what would happen along the rest of that journey. Stuck in a hotel for 3 months, ran out of money, and ended up in my truck with the dog in the November cold in a safe parking lot for the homeless. On night 2, I called my parents, devastated at all that had happened, and stayed with them for 60 days while I paid to lease a condo in Vegas. Not willing to leave with nothing and not able to replace everything alone. Gave up on the home in Mexico. I got a job in 10 days and started on December 14th of 2020 and have been there ever since. There are not many professional jobs here if you do not know anyone. Job wages are exceptionally low. I am now stuck in Vegas as I have not enough income as one person to leave and have to find a second job in order to make it work here. My parents basically broke up with me saying I am a loser because I do not own a home. How am I to do that in the United States by myself when there are no longer jobs that pay more than $17 an hour? But I am not in a van. I am not in a hotel. Not knowing anyone here other than my coworkers is very difficult. I'm scared. I am scared as I am 46, what will become of me at 56 and beyond. I am losing my ability to walk and working multiple jobs. I get a great deal of medical treatment, which is also expensive, so that I can be independent. I came across your channel by accident. I kept watching because I appreciated the fact that you are handy and can fix things on your own, and you are very independent. I am not clear at all where the locations are that you are filming other than Canada, but that is incredibly general. The only thing I would say to you, and it is a concern, not a complaint, you are wearing a work uniform and telling people where you work in your videos. I am very far away, so not likely I would be able to navigate to locate you, but there are people who are not in their right mind who would, and you do not want to jeopardize your employment, etc., because someone else brought trouble your way. Maybe I am more aware of this because I am a woman, but it can happen to anyone. Same thing, do not show your license plate, etc. Be safe because not everyone is a friend. I especially became concerned about this as it seems there are random women who are going out of their way to send you gifts, etc. I want to start my own YouTube channel, and I have been studying all about how to use TubeBuddy, etc., so that I can do so. A lot of what you do on your channel lines up with the theme of my channel. Hopefully at some point you would consider that we could talk about this and maybe collab via Zoom. Ask your doctor about diclofenac, sodium gel, topical solution. You will be glad you did. Congrats on your job, and please keep me in your thoughts as things can only go from the gutter to upward. Thanks, and have a great day. KJ, that's a great way to end that letter. Thank you so much. I was a little worried that it was going to end on a downer note there, but you turned it around, which means you're winning half the battle there. Your situation is very unfortunate. I'm sorry that you were stuck with such a effing loser at the beginning. Obviously, you've got a kind heart, and that person was taking advantage of that to the utmost degree. It's not a saying, but I'm sorry you're finding yourself in the situation that you're in. $17 an hour, that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, I know Vegas could probably be expensive. I've only ever been to Vegas as a tourist. But like minimum wage in Canada is about $16 an hour, and our stuff's already more expensive. So I would just say you've got to, if you're actually at the bottom, you got to, keep going. You got to keep pushing hard no matter what it takes. Like if you've illustrated that you're on a clock, and I get that, you're losing your ability to walk. There's no handout though, right? In that sense, you got to try to put your nose to the grindstone and do it, whether it's 2 or 3 jobs. I don't know what else to say. I might sound harsh, and I don't mean it to, or maybe I do. Maybe tough love is what some people need. Um, but if that's where you are and you are actually stuck and you don't have anybody to help in that regard, you got to do it yourself. That's kind of like one of the big things I started talking about at the very beginning of my van life on this channel, is that I didn't know how to do half the stuff I know now. And I used the amazing tool of the internet and YouTube, and I taught myself how to do whatever it was that I needed to do. I do appreciate your concern about everything else. Obviously, this was sent a while ago. Yikes. I know it's always a concern, I guess, putting yourself online, that yes, there are people out there where it could become problematic and whatnot. And you always have that in the back of your head. That's why I'm very careful in regards to other things that I share on my channel. In terms of my employment, that was never really a concern. Anybody who was ever going to roll up on that shop, they would have wished they hadn't. But not really a concern right now, as I'm not currently working, right? And it's interesting that people bring up the license plate and stuff. It's like I publish my UPS mailbox, and people always ask me, well, how do you get a driver's license and stuff when you're living in a van? And I always say the same thing: well, get a mailbox, because that you can use to register all of your stuff, your driver's license, your insurance, and all of that. So if anybody, I don't know, if anybody want to do anything dastardly with my license plate, they just wind up at the UPS store. So, and it's the same thing. It's like I guess it comes down to like, oh, if people want to find you, they could. But I mean, I'm always going to the UPS store anyway. It just, I always found it weird that people blur out license plates and stuff. And it's like, but we're out driving around and everybody can see our license plates all the time. But yeah, with van life and stuff, you gotta get a mailbox because you don't have a sticks and bricks address, right? So I do appreciate the call out for concern, though. But yeah, when you do stuff like this, when you're putting your life on YouTube, you got to have your head on a swivel for sure. Thank you again for writing in, KJ. And thank you to all of you who wrote in. I think in this instance, KJ's story might be the one that would benefit the most from some feedback from the community. If anybody has any advice, if anybody else is in the Las Vegas area and can potentially offer some steps to a solution, would be amazing. Maybe leave a comment below. I was going to say in the description of this video. You can't do that, but you can leave a comment. And if you're just watching and you would like to submit your story, please do not hesitate to do so. So I'm starting to trip over my tongue now. I've been talking for almost 30 minutes. Please do not hesitate to do so. You can send those stories into the email address vanlifepluscontact@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to read your story here on the channel. And until the next one, everybody, just go out there, be happy, be creative, be yourselves. Most importantly, be positive, and I will see you all in the next one.